you reach the heaven, and then you are literally able to do exactly like Jesus said, that you're able to do miracles, you're able to move mountains. You do that. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Emerance podcast. I'm your host, Emerance Victoria, and today we're going to tackle or talk about how you can find your purpose. In the last two episodes, I talked about the 90% and 10%. Just to recap, the 90% is your spiritual self, and the 10% is your physical self. So basically, the way you and your spirit communicate is through your five senses, right? So through touch, seeing, smell, taste, and what else? I don't know. Anyways, you know the five senses. And so when you communicate, when you send those data to your subconscious mind, it takes it as a fact. And in the episode 2, we talked about how to end neutrality, because we also understand that when we don't control how we talk, think, our actions, everything goes to our subconscious mind, to our spirit, and it brings it back. So we don't want to be neutral. We don't want to be neutral. We don't want to mix things up. We don't want to confuse our lives. So you have to just keep that spirit of happiness, positivity. All right. So those are the two episodes that came before this one. And it came before this one because I am about to share with you something super important, and it's going to take a while for you to actually understand everything that I'm going to say. I am trying to not make this podcast episode super long, but the thing that I have to say today is beyond me. So I'm going to let my spirit guide you guys, and I'm just going to sit in the back seat. But this is a warning, okay? So warning, get comfortable. Warning again, open your mind, get ready to unlearn, get ready to learn. Also get ready to have some new ideas, new brain cells, because once I share what I'm about to share with you, you will not see life the same way, just like me. So, how do you find purpose in your life? My gosh, like I remember this whole thing about me actually. When I started trying to find myself in 2018, I really did not know I was going to become this coach. I did not know that I was going to have a podcast. All I wanted was to figure out my story, and I stumbled upon a lot of things. But it was also a year where I figured out that I have to decide. Like, I literally have to take control. I'm the only one that can do things, and for me, right? So that's the year that I set myself to save at least 10,000 the year, and I made myself like have all these goals. But the issue with us today is that we are just getting all these information on how to do this, how to do that, how to do this, and we don't know the backstory of why we do these things. So for you, right, when we talk about purpose, people think about, what is it that I was created to do on earth, right? So this is exactly what I'm talking about. So what exactly are you here for? What is your goal? And is it that God decided it for you, or is it that you have to decide for yourself, right? So for me, I cannot go ahead and skip through steps and tell you how to take control of your life or how to find purpose, because I understand that in order for us to actually take care of ourselves, to actually live a better life, we don't have a choice but to look at history. HIS in capital, because we all know that it is a patriarchy society that we live in all over the world. Like the whole earth is a patriarchy kind of thing, I think. Well, I'm not sure, because I really don't know all about every country in the world, but I know that we live in a patriarchy world. So that means the men are leaders, and it's also white. Okay, so in this podcast episode, I just want to warn you, please, please, When I talk about race, it's not to be racism, it's just to talk about history, because I want you to actually know your purpose. I want you to figure out, why are you here? So that you can finally be free. If I have to say to you, like, what is it that I believe in, or what is in my religion? If you had to ask me about my religion, I would say my religion is the religion of truth, freedom, justice, and equality. So I am not here to tell you who's better or what. I'm here to give you facts, and always question everything that I say. Do your own research. So let's start. Guys, you cannot actually find your purpose without knowing where you come from. And I'm not just talking about the people with the same skin tone as me, I'm talking about everyone needs to know where they come from. So, when we talk about manifestation, because I really, really love manifestation, what I realized is that our whole being, like I was saying, everything that we do, say, think is a manifestation eventually. It just takes time for us to materialize it. And then when it does materialize, we don't really pay attention to, did we actually wish that? And that's when the episode 2 came about, because I don't want you guys to blindly manifest things that you don't want. So you have to be careful with what you say. But in order for you to know your purpose, even though you're careful with what you say and you're positive and you want the best life, you will still struggle if you are operating in your 10%. What does that mean? Let's describe the 90%. Everything in this world is duality, right? We have men, female, we have the yin and yang, we have femininity, masculinity, we have light, darkness. Everything has to have the opposite, right? And one cannot exist without the other. And I also feel like in this world, the the world that we live in right now, we are purely functioning in the 10%. Why? Because we worry a lot. We worry about the future a lot. We worry about money. We worry about the stuff that we're going to eat or clothe ourselves. We worry all the time. We're always constantly trying to find something to keep us in peace. But then it's never enough, because we always want more, right? But I want you to stop wanting more. I want you to understand that this life that we live in, that's not it. So I'm going to talk to you about the story of how I understand it. And please go do your research, because it's really important. If you want to take care of your life, if you want to find your purpose, you have to understand that you cannot go about this life, even as a woman, because 90%, if we say 90% of ourselves is the spirit functions in the right brain. The right brain, that's where creativity, femininity resides. So I'm asking myself, so we're 90% feminine, basically, but we still have that 10% logic, which is our left brain. So many people function through logic, through everything, like they have to see to believe. That's basically logic, if I can keep it short, because everything that you have to comprehend, you have to calculate, you have to, do some research. Those are the logic. Like you're making a logical decision. You want something, but you logically want to make sure that it's going to work. So you're only going to manifest based on what you're capable of doing, right? So that's what I mean. Okay. So the right brain. Basically, if you want to find your purpose, the first thing that you have to do is to be okay with your masculine and feminine side. Back in ancient Africa, ancient Kemet, the pyramids that you see today and things like that, they were made back in those days. They were a matriarchy community or countries, I'm not sure, civilization. They were a matriarchy civilization. And they used a lot of their intuition, which is their right brain, in order for them to do logically things, right? So it is just a tool that you use in order for your creativity, your intuition comes about. So you shouldn't be using logic in order for you to make your intuition work. It doesn't work like that. We all know that intuition, it knows things, right? So it will tell you what's coming, and you kind of have to listen. And a lot of us don't listen because we think, oh, it's just a feeling, or it's just whatever, you know? So I want you to understand that feminine and masculinity has to function, has to be in harmony. If you are misusing your feminine side, it's gonna backfire. If you are misusing your masculine side, it's going to backfire. That's why a lot of people, when they're in a relationship, and the feminine women, like the women and the men, right? Like, we think that, okay, the man is the masculine because it's the man, and then the woman, she has to be feminine, and that's the woman. But if you guys notice today, a lot of women are more masculine, right? They function in their masculinity, they function in their logic. Because obviously, I totally get it, we cannot survive purely on intuition or creativity in this world, right? Because this world is made of logic, right? Everything you do is written down. You have to sign contracts when you do things. It's not just, oh, I'm just gonna, be in community and nobody owes me anything or whatever. We always have to have something between, like, this exchange cannot just be an exchange. It has to be like a whole system, a whole procedure, which is logic. All right. So when two people come together and they're both masculine, they butt heads, because a masculine man and a masculine woman won't be able to go together, because they both want to be leaders. They both want to take actions, to be very, like, hardcore, and things like that. The same thing for a feminine and feminine man and feminine woman. If they are together, I'm sorry, but the woman is gonna be like, I need a masculine man, you know? And it's okay for a feminine man to be with a masculine woman, because a lot of women love that. They want to be the one going to get the job and the money for the family. And if you have, as a man, you love doing all these cooking, creativity things, taking care, nourishing, nurturing, and stuff like that, that's totally fine too. But in this world, that's not the only thing you need in order for you to find purpose. I am talking about being in harmony with your 10% and 90%. And that is something that you have to understand before I go into the history. It's because when you understand that a matriarchy community functions on nurturing first, and, like, all the intuition and spiritual, like the right brain side, and then they use their 10% to control and make sure everything is good, because they need that logic, right? So that's how the community used to be. Another discovery, and another reason why a lot of people, or this world is the way it is because we have this melanin. Okay. So melanin, if you know the pineal gland, the third eye, if you heard of it, if you haven't, that's fine, but do your research, okay? Because I'm going to just tell you some little stuff. And I am looking into doing a series to specifically talk about each and one of these things, because right now I'm just skipping through them so that I can get to my point, but I cannot get to my point if you don't understand these. All right, so the pineal gland, which is, I don't even know if I say it right, but I'm gonna say pineal gland, okay? It's right here, our third eye. It's there, and its function is basically for us to wake up and sleep. It helps us dream. It helps us also manifest. And the pineal gland is also in the Bible. It's also the whole Jesus story. But before I won't get into that. I'm gonna make special episodes for that. But the pineal gland is very important because it only activates with the sun. So you can calcify the melanin, you can calcify, I mean, the pineal gland, you can calcify your third eye. It can get hard, it can become just like a rock instead of the gland, right? Because it's a crystal, and it can literally become like a rock in your brain. So why do I bring up the third eye? Back in ancient Kemet, it was basically their whole purpose of living. Their purpose was to elevate themselves, to resurrect. Okay, so they believed that they were created in order for them to embody God on earth, and then so that they can ascend and be like God on earth, like literally bring heaven on earth and all that. Now, I'm going to explain another way that they see it. So, the ancient Kemet, they also believed in reincarnation. So basically, when you die, you are judged by this Maat spirit, and Maat means order. So when you die, you are going to be judged on a scale. One side there's your heart, and another side is the feather of Ma'at. And you have to literally say these 42 negative 42 negative declarations that you will eventually, like they will eventually weight your heart. And so if your heart is lighter than the feather, you go back to your eternal spirit. You are no longer going to be a human being because you're no longer attached to this human body and everything that it involves. So basically, if you don't have any guilt, if you don't feel like you owe anyone anything, if you're not worried, like when you die and you worry and you're like, oh, I'm worried, like my kids and stuff like that, like if you have any attachments to earth, your heart will be heavier because your 42 laws of Ma'at, that means one or two or whatever you did. Like, for example, in the 42 laws of Ma'at, there's one that says, I have not hurt someone or caused pain. And when you die, well, you get there and you're like, yeah, I have caused pain. I have killed people. I have done all this. That means you still have to come back here because you did not learn your lesson, right? So the Ma'at will send you to this, I call it monster or animal, eat you, and you come back. That's the resurrection. And from what I know is that you only resurrect in your bloodline. Now, the reason why I'm saying all of this is because you cannot find your purpose without understanding the 42 laws of Ma'at. Because if you understand that when you die, you are judged like that based on your own actions, you will be more accountable of that, right? Especially if before you died, you had this contract that you said, in this life, I'm going to do this and that. And you're here, but you forgot, you don't even try to go back and learn about what is that contract, that's your loss. You won't be able to find your purpose. So in order for you to find your purpose, you have to know yourself. You have to know who you are, where you come from, so you know where you're going. And the first one is being in harmony with your masculine and feminine side. All right. So those are the two important things. Now, I just skipped through the ancient Kemet, but if we go a bit further or like earlier between Kemet and us, between that, there has been a change, which the Bible came, right? And you have to understand that the Bible was created for control. Another thing that I would like to go back to the pineal gland, we all understand that the pineal gland only activates with the sun, right? The pineal gland activates with the sun and holds your melanin. As a Black person, you are melanated because your pineal gland is so strong. Your communication with the sun is so strong that it hasn't calcified, right? But if you bleach your skin, if you remove that melanin, then you're calcifying your pineal gland, which means that you are no longer in communication with the sun. And in ancient Kemet, they believed that the sun was the source of life, right? We all know that everything in this world, animals, trees, flowers, all of those things, they depend on the sun for survival. So, yes, animals do have melanin, okay? But now it also brings me to the fact that many people, especially the ones who are in control in this world, do not have melanin, all right? So that means they don't have that direct communication with God, all right? So there's a spectrum of melanin. There's, again, it's all about duality, right? There's people who are black and then people who are white, and then there's in between, okay? If you don't have melanin, you're in the whiter side. If you have melanin, then you are in the darker side, right? You're African. Okay. And based on history, everyone came from Africa, and Africans, they went about their ways. They went up north, they went to the islands, they went to Canada, went everywhere, okay? Because people, like, here today, we are being told that the humans lived 6,000 years ago, but it's been like 2 million years ago that Black people were literally surviving and flourishing on Earth, to the point where there was 20 ice age since, right? So just keep that in mind. And those are the things that you have to go and look for yourself, because I'm just giving you a summary so that I can help you find your purpose. Okay, so basically, we talked about the pineal gland, how it's related to the melanin, and how everything, like, basically, if you don't have brown eyes, you are melanin deficient, because it's a third eye, right? A third eye, brown eyes, or darker eyes means your melanin is present. Okay, so if you're white and you have brown eyes, then you have melanin. So those are just the things that you have to look into. But again, the the pineal gland is activated with the sun, and the lighter you are, the more percentage of calcified pineal gland you have. So you have to work harder to have this communication with God. This goes to my point of the Bible. I'm just going to give it very shortly. Okay, so the real truth is, again, I don't know, this is my theories, okay? The truth is, the ancient Kemet, they built pyramids, they had their temples, they had this great communication with God because they're melanated per people. They were Black and they understood what the pineal gland is. If you look at ancient Kemet mummies and like their hats and stuff, you'll see a serpent right here, right? That's the pineal gland. So they knew about that, right? Ancient Kemet, they were speaking or communicating with symbols because they did not have to speak like we're speaking. They were very much in intuition. Like, they were very much in, like, active in the right brain, because if your pineal gland is active, your right and left brain are in harmony. They don't have a choice. Like, it sits right at the middle of your right and left brain. So when they're in harmony, that means your pineal gland is strong, right? So you can communicate, you can have vision, you can have dreams and talk to God, right? So there was a lot of stories and symbols that ancient Kemet had done so that you can understand, or their people can understand, like, the beauty of God. But then when people, right, I told you Africans, they all spread out for thousands of years or so, and they went through the ice age. Their pineal gland started calcifying, so they lost their melanin. And throughout the years, if you live through in the north, and there's the ice age, like, the ice age did not happen everywhere around the world, okay? It happened up north. That's why people in Africa, they were able to continue their civilization, because they can build upon what someone else started, right? Because if you have ancestors that's been here, like if you live in the same place in the same place for years, and one person comes and creates something and the other person comes and creates something, and the years goes by, you are building upon discoveries and discoveries, right? To the point where they had schools, they had systems for you to be able to resurrect, ascend. I'm going to just give you a little background of what I mean by ascend. I know I'm telling you a lot of things, but please understand that this is important, because it is through the truth that you will be free. Like the wording says, the truth shall set you free. And I just want you to be free. I want you to take control so you can make informed decisions in your life. Okay, so I'm saying a lot of things, but I'm going to make sure to have a special episode on YouTube to explain these better, at least in a chronological order, so that, you know, it can make sense. And I'm also going to make a special episode for the Bible, like the spiritual Bible, like how it connects to the truth, right? But right now I'm just giving you a fast summary. Okay, so yeah, ancient Kemet, they had schools to teach you how to resurrect. Now, I'm going to tell you something that if you know Jesus Christ, it might surprise you, but just hear me out. Back in ancient Kemet, like I said, they communicate through symbols. And so they really liked the snake because it represented a lot, right? And when they look at the human body, they look at the similarities of the snake. And they looked at the spinal cord that looked like a snake, right? Like that's literally just a little like a cord, right? And so in that spinal cord, you have a fluid. The fluid is called the Christ oil or Christos or something like that. And what happened is when it's at the base of your spinal cord, that's where the organs are, right? Your sexual organs are. And so that means if it's there and it stays there, you are pure logic. Because even if you look at the yoga pose and the chakras, it explains, right? It's going to confirm what I'm saying, because in the chakras you see that the lowest one, which is red, it's all the earth desires. So everything that you want, like money and things like that, it comes from your lower self, right? So basically when you are functioning through your body, through logic, your Christ oil is very low. Like you're pure, like you're 10%. You're just functioning on 10%. And when you rise the Christ oil, when it rises and goes up, it's actually connected to the pineal gland. When that oil connects the pineal gland, that's when they call it a rebirth, resurrection. Okay, so when you have that, you're literally reached the level of God because you went up, you know? Like when people pray and they look up, bro, you're looking at your pineal gland. That's what it is. So you reach the heaven, and then you are literally able to do exactly like Jesus said, that you're able to do miracles, you're able to to move mountains. You do that. But today, the reason why we're still able to manifest, but not as strongly and quickly, it's because I told you 90% of yourself is your spirit. So, regardless, even if you don't ascend, you still have that power. But that power is stronger when your melanin is stronger. It's not like your pineal gland is not calcified. Yeah, so when you are living in your bottom chakras, which is literally the the body desires, that's when you work, that you function 100% through your 10%. And when you ascend that Christ oil, you open your pineal gland, you become more like a god. Okay? So that is something that you have to understand. It is real. A long, long time ago, it was not that long ago, before everything changed, before the Greeks stole the Library of Alexandria, That library had everything. Okay. They had years and years of research and it was taken. Okay. And now I'm going to explain why it was taken. It was taken because the Egyptian schools, right, in order for you to go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, because they had 3 levels, there was this door that you had to open. But people, if you did not ascend, if you did not resurrect, you cannot look like you won't be able to see where the handle is to open the door, right? So you can't really open a door if you are not reborn. But then I told you guys that if you have less melanin, it's harder for you to even have that Christ oil ascend and meet the pineal gland, because your pineal gland is calcified. So you have to literally uncalcify it and stuff like that. But back in the day, people did not know that, right? So they couldn't really have access to the same Egyptians' knowledge that Black people had back then, right? So the one who had less melanin decided to take over the library. They took the knowledge based on how they could understand logically, because again, if your pineal gland is calcified, your connection to your intuition, creativity, spirit, it's kind of like blocked, right? Basically, you don't have access to that direct communication with God. And that's where the Bible came in. The Bible was created to control people, right? But then it's also created for the person that do not have access, direct access to God, to be able to at least have something, a communication, a connection with God, right? So basically, they create a Bible, and with that Bible, a lot of things unfolded, but mainly what I want to focus on right now is the 10 Commandments, because I talked about the 42 declarations of Ma'at, and now I'm going to talk about how the 10 Commandments came from the 42 laws of Ma'at. Like, I'm going to just give you like 2 or 3. There's the commandment number 1, no other gods, right? So in Mahat is, I have not blasphemed. The commandments, the 10 commandments, focus on you not having another God, right? Like you not worshiping another God. But in the 42 laws of Ma'at, they're saying that I have not cursed God. I have not disrespected God, right? Like it's not about me glorifying another God. It's just about me not going outside of what I need to do. All right. The other commandment is number 6, thou shalt not kill. In Ma'at, it says, I have not slain men and women. And then we have the commandment 7, which is, thou shalt not commit adultery. Ma'at says, I have not committed adultery. It's very direct, but some have changed. Anyways, that you see, like if you go 42 laws of Ma'at, it's a lot. So of course they reduced it to a 10 commandments because it's more about really outside of you. It's not really like stuff that you for your own good, right? It's always about you not doing something for others or to God or things like that. I might be wrong, but that's how I understand it. All right. So that's basically what the Bible was. So the 10 Commandments happened with Moses, and the story of Moses, he liberated the Jews in Egypt, and then they went in another city, and Moses saw that they were going crazy, and he went and got the 10 Commandments. The true story is Moses was like keen to take his people, obviously, but then the Egyptian says, okay, well, we have this land, the land Canaan, we are going to give it to you. But then that land, the Egyptians used it to like put people that were like bad in the city, that were not acting right. So they would kick out people and send them to that land of Canaan. And basically when Moses went there, he saw that a lot of people were there, and it was a mess. So in order for him to control the population, he created the 10 Commandments. All right. So the Bible came about to control people and for one person's benefit. And I want you to understand that if you're Black and you love the Bible, that is normal. It's because you can see yourself in there, because you understand that there is truth in that. But if you also read the Bible, you'll see that there's some stuff that are just pure BS, right? It does not make sense. And the reason is you know the truth. You don't really need to always read the Bible to know the truth. You know it. And if you read the 42 Declarations of Ma'at, you understand that nobody actually needs to tell you all the 42 laws, because you are not, you know it's wrong. It's literally in your DNA. When you were created, Ma'at gave you those 42 laws. And it's just a reminder that you have to be accountable for your actions. So, in order for you to find purpose, okay, the first thing to do is to be accountable for yourself. You have to put yourself first and understand that your actions have consequences, and understand that you also have to be in harmony. You cannot just kill your femininity if you're a man. And especially men, you literally have to be in harmony with that feminine side. A lot of men do not know how. Like, how is it that we made men okay to not cry? Like, how is it that us women, we feel a certain way when a men cry? Like, it's crazy. We need to understand that these things are very much inside of us, and we have the right to express ourselves the way we want. Now, this is what the next part is. There's this duality, right? I was talking about men and female and stuff like that. This war that we have right now is because we don't understand everything that I just told you. People don't know the truth. We are just like literally sleeping in hatred. We hate our neighbors. We don't want to share anymore. We think so and so is weird, you know. And now men are killing women, and women don't even want to be married or have kids or all of those things, and it's a mess, right? Because we are supposed to live in harmony. But the reason why we're like this is because, again, we have to understand that the feminine side has been casted away, has been disrespected, has been hurt for so long, that men today will have to go back into their quiet space and communicate with God. Literally, not go to church and pray like that. No, go inside your own house, journal, understand who you are. Okay, you are very much a feminine as well as you are masculine. We are all in duality. A human being is capable of doing bad stuff. It's not a spirit that came to in him. It's because we understand that there are the chakras, right? And when you are only functioning in your red chakras, you are literally on survival mode. You don't even look at what you're doing, taking a life, you know, it's crazy. But if you only stay in your logic, you're literally wasting your life. You have to understand that you have to get more in tune with that feminine side as a man. And as a woman, we all know that a woman is complete. A woman is the one who creates. But a woman, you cannot be just have this random ass confidence that you are a 10. You are a 10, technically, yes. But you cannot just go out there and act like you're a 10 when your own life, your own heart is bad, right? Your words, your action, the character is just bad. So you also have to work on that as a woman. I talked about a lot of things. But you have to understand that in order for you to find purpose is you have to know yourself. You have to be okay with your duality, your masculine and feminine. You also have to know the pineal gland. You have to be proud of having it. And you have to be super, super happy to know that as melanated, more melanated that you have, you're more in contact with God. What does that mean? It means that you actually don't need to go to church. It means that you actually don't need a middleman to communicate with God. The middleman was made to help people who had calcified pineal gland, but you don't. I mean, if you're Black, you don't. Or if you are in between. Because I know for sure that the way the world is today is because a lot of people have rejected the fact that their ancestors are Black and come from a woman, a Black woman at that. Imagine. And that's the bad thing about racism. It keeps us blinded. It keeps us in this 10% world, because especially if you have this hatred for another race, it's really sad because you're not evolving. You're not going to find your purpose. Everything is just not going to work. You're going to try to make it work, but it's not, because you are functioning in a bad place. And that's why I think I said it maybe in the first episode. That's why, like, as a Black person, you also cannot do things in a bad way if you want to achieve something, because you are a representation of God on earth. Just look at everything, okay? Everywhere. Everything. How many Black creators actually created stuff? Like the stop sign, the mop, the table to iron your clothes. Who created those things? So we're creators. Athletes, come on, we dominate a lot of things. And you, because you're using your logic, you're like, of course, my DNA is like this and that, but you don't even understand why it's like that. Someone tried to tell you that God is outside of you, but it's different for a Black person. It's very much active and inside of you. As I'm talking to you, I don't really control what I'm saying. I have my notes here, but I said, Infinite Spirit, take the wheel. Because I know the stuff that I'm about to say. I'm kind of shy, or not shy. I'm kind of like wondering, like, are you ready for this? Are you ready for the truth? But then I know that we don't have time. We don't have time. Like, in order for you to actually have a beautiful life, you have to know where you come from. You have to know the real history. As a Black person, you have to understand that you don't just come from slavery or colonization or from being a savage. You're not a savage. You're the creator. You're an ancestor from from people that lived thousands and millions of years on Earth. If you are a white person or in that spectrum, you have to understand that your ancestors just simply moved from Egypt, from Africa to the north. All right, they lost their melanin, and that's totally what happened. But it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that we have to understand that not everyone is in one pool. You might need someone to guide you, but understand that you are the one that needs to do the work. Like, even when we talk about understanding your history, is also accepting the fact that those things did happen. Now, how do we move forward? How do we plan our future? So, for you to find your purpose, you have to acknowledge the feminine. Even women today, we have to acknowledge the feminine. Start using your intuition, your creativity. Start staying in the quietness. Stop confusing. Stop thinking that light means good and Black means bad. All of that is not true. Okay, unlearn everything. All those horror movies that made you not look at the mirror too long or stay in the dark too long. Like, listen, it's in the dark that light appears. Okay? It's in the dark that everything appears. It's in the dark that everything is created. If you want to go deeper in this, go search for a black dot And when you do that research, you're going to go under the sun, close your eyes. For a moment, you're going to notice a black dot. If you're black, if it doesn't if it's not there, then that means your pineal gland is calcified beyond like normal, or but not normal, beyond being able to see the black dot. But if your pineal gland is not as calcified, I mean, you would close your eyes and see the black dot. And it's just your pineal gland saying hi. Because that's where everything comes from. Okay? And another thing that you have to do, you acknowledge the femininity. That's the first one. The second one is acknowledge the Black ancestors. Understand that where you come from, people were living in harmony regardless of your skin tone, because there was no issues until someone decided that the white race was superior. And that's why everything is like that. But I want you to understand that it is very much something that we can manage. All right. So this episode was going to be 10 minutes, but my spirit said, nope, I need to give you some backstories so that you understand. Now, for you to find your purpose, go through the 42 laws of Maat. It is hard. It's a hard list, but that's how beautiful God is. He brought us on earth. He created us so that we can go back to him. That's the purpose. The purpose is not to find a job, a career, get kids, and then live your best life. You can literally do that. That's great. But your purpose is to return to the creator. Now, how do you do that? The ancient Kemet had the 10 virtues, and this is going to help you get back to your creator. All right. So the 10 virtues, one is control of thoughts. The second one is control of actions. Both equals justice. So basically, the control of thought is the ability to maintain mental discipline and focus, ensuring your mind is not ruled by chaos or distraction. The control of action is the practice of self-regulation and ensuring that your physical conduct aligns with your values. Devotion of purpose, maintaining a steadfast commitment to your goals and your spiritual path without being swayed by external influences. Identity with the higher self, recognizing that your true nature is divine and spiritual rather than strictly material. All right? Evidence of a mission, living a life that demonstrates you have a clear objective or calling to fulfill. The next one is evidence of spiritual call, showing through your life choices that you are responsive to spiritual truth and higher wisdom. Freedom from resentment, the capacity to remain calm and objective even when facing persecution, unfair treatment, or hardship. Confidence in the master, teacher. Having trust in the wisdom and guidance provided by those who have already mastered the path. Confidence in one's ability to learn. Possessing the self-assurance and humility required to acquire new knowledge and transform oneself. Readiness for initiation. The state of being prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually to receive deeper truth. So the 10 virtues comes from the 42 laws of Ma'at. The 42 laws of Ma'at is the negative declarations that you do when you die. And if you follow the 10 virtues that I just gave you, I'm not going to go through the 42 laws of Ma'at. I already did a few, but it's a long list and it's a hard list. But this is literally what you do. Okay? I just told you your purpose. You came on earth to return to God while you're alive, not when you die. Because when you die, you find the light and you come back. A lot of people say that. They say that when you die, don't go to the light. Then where do you go to? To the darkness. But then your whole life, you've been told to be scared of the darkness. So of course you're going to go to the light because you want to come back on earth. It's something that you have to understand, Because what I want you to do this week is to evaluate yourself and be like, am I ready for this? A lot of people are not ready for this. A lot of people want to live a 10% life. They want to just function with their logic. A lot of Black people, we really need to work hard on getting back to our roots. I don't want you to change your religion. I want you to have an open mind. You can respect your religion, but I want you to know that we are in a time that unfortunately you don't have time to be like, oh, do I follow the Bible or do I follow Maat? That is your choice to make. But just know that as a Black person, you were not made to have someone to connect you with God. You have a direct contact with God. All you have to do is go in that quiet space, like God says in the Bible, go in that quiet space, be there with yourself. And another thing, if you're Christian, you know about the 10%. Bring your 10% to God. Bring yourself to God means go in the quiet space, your consciousness. You're deciding that you're going to meditate, you're deciding that you're going to just understand yourself. That's the real 10%. I just told you guys, I just told you something that you have to understand. And if you don't, it's up to you. You decide what you want, and I just want you to succeed in this world. This world is going to be changing in the next 4 years. I mean, it's already changing. You can see that, but you don't fight the change by the logic, how everyone else is doing it. You fight it by resurrecting. Okay, that's your purpose. All right. My coaching services will be about this. I cannot be here talking about self-love or putting yourself first or love yourself without talking about God. And in the next few episodes, as I'm moving forward, I just want you to have this basics. Okay, the basics of the ancient Kemet, Maat, the 10 virtues, the 10 commandments, how everything came about. Get out of the box that you've been put in. You were born into sin, which means you were born and straight up you missed your mark. And that's okay because that's your purpose. You are made to go through life, go through your logic, go through this 10%, live 100% in your 10%, in your conscious mind without taking care of your intuition. But once you understand that this is not working, there's something wrong and I need to fix it, that's when you put that 10%, you go into your subconscious mind so that you can 100% be with God. All right, so do that this week. Journal, look at yourself and be like, am I able to do the 10 virtues? What is Victoria smoking? Anyways, I'm not smoking anything. I'm just very much confident in myself because a lot of times I've done things and I've questions, and it just feels so good when you finally have answers because I'm able to come here and talk to you. And like I tell people, it was not a coincidence that I went to the hospital, that I went through all of the hardship. And even if you want to go further, there's this thing called Kabbalah analysis, and it kind of tells you your soul's contract. And apparently mine is to go through hardship so that I can come here and talk to you. Can you believe it? Anyways, I'm going to let you go because this is too long. All right. It was really nice talking to you. And again, go download the asset manual, do the work. Now's the time. The time is now for you to resurrect and do the work. All right. Take care of yourself. And remember, self first isn't selfish, it's the standard. Bye bye.